Before we start this video, do like and subscribe to our channel and not miss on any updates.
Yes, my dear students, now that we are done with discussion about the first topic, that is the basic concepts, let's proceed to discussion about the second interesting topic, that is about residential status and scope of total income. One such topic which has got some tremendous importance, where almost every time a question is coming in the exam. So without any chance, without any delay, we need to discuss a lot of interesting, intricate points in this topic, because this topic has got good amount of weightage from an examination standpoint, and it is also a very, very practical topic. So before we get into the topic, my dear friends, let me give an interesting example. One example, that is, let's say one cricket player named as David Warner. David Warner, a cricket player, is coming to India. He is basically an Australian cricket player who is coming to India, playing a match in India, and let us say he is making some money in India. Now my question to you straight away is that, will that Australian cricket player, that is David Warner, is he required to pay any tax in India? Tell me guys. Emotionally, our answer will automatically be say, yes sir, he has to pay tax because money is earned in India. But there is a problem here. When you say that he is required to pay tax in India, he is basically from Australia. There is a possibility that Australian country also might tell David Warner, you please pay tax in Australia also. But it is fundamentally a brutal fact that same income cannot be taxed twice in two countries. There cannot be a double taxation of the same income. You're getting my point, my dear friends? Let me take one more example here. So let us say Shiva Teja, an Indian citizen, let's say I went to US, I provided some service in US and I made some money in US only. Now tell me, am I required to pay tax on that income in US? Emotionally you will tell, answer is yes sir, because income is earned in US. And again you will tell, again I'll ask, should I pay tax in India? You will tell, Shiva sir, you are an Indian person, you have to pay tax in India also. But guys, you please tell me honestly, will Shiva Teja pay tax in two countries? Obviously answer is no. There cannot be a question of double taxation. That is why I told you, my dear friends, that there is no question of feelings and emotions. What we want is only sections and subsections. So in this beautiful topic of residential status and scope of total income, we are going to classify, we are going to bifurcate the persons into different classification in terms of resident, non-resident, resident and ordinarily resident. Resident but not ordinarily resident. Now the point to be noted here is that based on residential status, the taxability of a person will change. That means if Shiva Teja is a resident, my taxability in India will change. If Shiva Teja is a non-resident, my taxability in India will change. Now the point to be noted here is that in income tax, for the purpose of taxability, there are two important criteria. Criteria number one, residential status. Criteria number two, the place of accrual and receipt of income. Where income is accrued, where income is received. Based on where income is accrued and received, we will classify income as Indian income, foreign income. Basis that way we will classify. Income means we know. Income means what we know. Accrue means nothing but accrue is a place where the income right to receive will come. For example, if Shiva Teja is going to US, providing some service in US, income is accrued in US. Or let us say Shiva Teja of Maharashtra is going to Tamil Nadu and providing service in Tamil Nadu. Then we say that income is accrued in Tamil Nadu, because income will accrue at a place where service is rendered. And received basically means actually received. So let me tell you one point very clearly. For the purpose of taxability of income under income tax law, there are two important criteria. Criteria number one, residential status. Criteria number two, the place of accrual and receipt of income. And before we get into place of accrual and receipt of income, first let us understand very clearly how do we classify residential status. So in this topic, we have a three-step approach. Step number one, we will first try to find out residential status. Then we will find out where income is accrued, where income is received. And finally, we will decide whether that income is taxable or not. So when we complete this topic, my dear friends, at the fag end of completion of this topic, we will actually get tremendous clarity in terms of which income will be taxable for whom and how do we determine residential status of a person, because ultimately residential status is an important criteria to determine taxability. Resident is taxable in a different way, non-resident is taxable in a different way. So for that reason, it is very, very important that we properly classify between resident and non-resident. Now, how do we classify resident, non-resident? First of all, let's understand that. You cannot bluntly tell, Shiva sir, I've got Aadhaar card with me, I'm a resident in India. Friends, please understand that Aadhaar card is not a proof of citizenship or not a proof of residential status. It is only an identity proof, nothing else. You're getting my point, my dear friends? Exactly. Now, under income tax law, residential status is determined based on duration of stay in India. So, how long the person has stayed in India, based on that, we will decide the residential status. So in India, under income tax law, residential status is determined based on duration of stay in India. Based on how long he stayed in India, we will determine what is the residential status. Now, my dear friends, let me tell you one important point. We have got some interesting sections like section 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, 6.6, different sections we have got in residential status. Now, first thing, let me tell you, my dear friends, in case of individual and HUF, we have got three types of classification. But other than individual HUF, we have got only two classifications. What is that? Listen carefully, friends. In case of individual and HUF, we have got three classifications, that is ROR, RNOR and NR. ROR stands for resident and ordinarily resident. RNOR stands for resident but not ordinarily resident, whereas NR stands for non-resident. Now, when do we call a person as ordinarily resident and not ordinarily resident? We will look at some interesting conditions given in section 6.6, which we will talk in detail. But you have to keep in mind that in case of individual and HUF, we have got three possible residential status, that is ROR, RNOR, NR, that is resident and ordinarily resident, resident but not ordinarily resident. Last one is non-resident. But other side, that is in case of other than individual HUF, like companies, firms, LLPs, AOP, BOI, AJP, for all these types of persons other than individual and HUF, there are only two bifurcations. The two bifurcations are resident, other bifurcation is non-resident. That's it. There is nothing called resident and ordinarily resident, resident but not ordinarily resident. This story of ordinarily resident and not ordinarily resident is only in case of individual and HUF. And in exam, students are making a fundamental mistake writing the word resident and ordinary resident. It is not resident and ordinary resident. It is resident and ordinarily resident. Please keep in mind very clearly. And of course, you have to keep in mind that this concept of ordinarily resident and not ordinarily resident is only in case of individual and HUF. So friends, to repeat once again, in case of individual and HUF, what are three possible bifurcations? Three possible residential status, that is ROR, RNOR, NR. ROR, resident and ordinarily resident. RNOR, resident but not ordinarily resident. NR, non-resident. But for others, only two possible residential status, that is resident and non-resident. That's it. So let's discuss very much detail now about residential status of individual, which will take some sweet time, because that is the most time-taking activity in this particular topic, my dear friends. So friends, as I just told you that residential status of an individual is determined based on duration of stay in India. So now, in case of individual or for that matter HUF, there is a possibility and the concept of duration of stay in India. But in case of other than individual HUF, like companies, firms, LLP, there is no concept of duration of stay in India. But in those cases, residential status is determined based on some other criteria. What criteria is that? We will talk in detail separately. But just keep in mind as of now that for other than individual or HUF, there are only two possible residential status. That is resident. Other option is non-resident. Other possibility is non-resident. But in case of individual or HUF, there are three possible residential status. That is resident and ordinarily resident, resident but not ordinarily resident. Third one is non-resident. So these are the three possible residential status in case of an individual. Now, let's move forward with respect to individual, my dear friends, first. Now, with respect to individual, my dear friends, as I told you very clearly that residential status is based on duration of stay in India, means how long the person or the individual has physically stayed in India. Based on that it is determined. You might ask, so how will we know whether we physically stayed in India or not in India? The simple fundamental point is that generally for people who are normally staying in India only, who are not going out of India, the story is different. But who keep on going out of India and coming to India, I am sure we all know that there is something called a passport which is given by the Indian government. And when a person is leaving India, he has to submit the passport at the immigration department, immigration counter which is there in the airport. So when he submits that passport, in that there is a stamp which is put by the immigration department, which clearly shows the date of leaving as well as date of coming back, because when coming back also he has to pass through the immigration counters. You are getting my point, my dear friends? That is how practically they get to know how many days he stayed in India. Now let us see how do we determine the residential status of an individual. First, my dear friends, we have got two interesting basic conditions given under section 6 subsection 1. Under section 6.1, there are two basic conditions which have been given with respect to an individual. And out of these two basic conditions, if any condition is satisfied, if any one condition is satisfied, we will call the individual as a resident. And if both the conditions are not satisfied, we will regard the individual as a non-resident. And by any chance, if out of the two basic conditions, if any one condition or both the conditions are satisfied, then we will call that individual as a resident. And once that individual becomes a resident, we will further look at something called additional conditions, which are given under section 6.6. And there are two conditions there. But we will look at additional conditions subsequently. First, let's look at the basic conditions only first. So friends, how many basic conditions are there? Only two. They are given under which section? Section 6 subsection 1. And if out of the two conditions, if any one condition or both the conditions are satisfied, we will regard that individual as a resident. And if none of the basic condition is satisfied, the individual is regarded as a non-resident. If he is non-resident, what will happen? We will talk separately. If he is resident, what will happen? We will talk separately. But first, let's talk about classification between resident and non-resident. If resident, what will happen? We will talk. If non-resident, what will happen? We will talk. But first, let's understand the classification properly. So, how many basic conditions are there? There are two interesting basic conditions. And the conditions are clearly based on duration of stay in India. When I say India, what is the meaning of India, my dear friends? Already we know what is the meaning of India. India is defined by section 225A. First chapter already we discussed this. India covers territory, territorial waters, seabed and subsoil underlying such water, continental shelf, exclusive economic zone and airspace above territory and territorial waters. This definition already we discussed in the first topic, my dear friends, basic concepts. Basic concepts are very important for henceforth discussion of different multiple topics in income tax. So friends, first basic condition let's look at now. The first basic condition says he must be in India. When I say he must be in India means physically be in India, not virtually. Don't tell online will come, online will do a live session. No. Physically he must be in India. He must be in India for a period of 182 days or more during the previous year. He must be in India for a period of 182 days or more during the previous year. And one point, let me tell you very clearly here, that how many basic conditions are there? 2 are there. Only first point I told. Out of these 2, how many to be satisfied to become a resident? Any one. Or if both also satisfied, very good, you will still become a resident only. And if both not satisfied, you will become a non-resident. And what is the first basic condition? He must be in India for a period of 182 days or more during the previous year. Now let's take one example. Let us say assessment year is 26-27. If assessment year is 26-27, what is the previous year? Previous year is 25-26. That means in previous year 25-26, that is from 1st April 2025 to 31st March 2026, if during that previous year he is in India for a period of 182 days or more, then for assessment year 26-27, we will regard him as a resident. Because for assessment year 26-27, previous year is 25-26. So in 25-26, if he stays in India for a period of 182 days or more, he is regarded as a resident. So friends, what is the first basic condition? First basic condition says he must be in India for a period of 182 days or more during the previous year. Or second case what they gave is that he must be in India. He must be in India for a period of 60 days or more during the previous year. 60 days or more during the previous year. And 365 days or more during the 4 years preceding the previous year. What is the language given, my dear friends? What does that actually mean? Second case is talking about he must be in India for a period of 60 days or more during the previous year. And what is that word, friends? And 365 days or more during the 4 years preceding the relevant previous year. So let's say, for example, if assessment year is 27-28, if assessment year is what? 27-28. What will be the previous year? If assessment year is 27-28, previous year is 26-27. So possibility number 1 is that in previous year 26-27, he must be in India for a period of 182 days or more. Then we'll treat him as a resident. Or second possibility is that in 26-27, he must be in India for a period of at least 60 days in 26-27 and 4 years prior to 26-27. 4 years what, my dear friends? Prior to 26-27. In that 4 years put together, he should have been in India for a period of 365 days or more. So what are the two possibilities, my dear friends? First condition what they gave is that the basic conditions given by section 6 subsection 1 are, my dear friends, number 1, he must be in India for a period of 182 days or more during the previous year. Or he must be in India for a period of 60 days or more during the previous year and 365 days or more during the 4 years preceding the previous year. So out of these two basic conditions, if any one basic condition is satisfied, we will treat the residential status of the individual as a resident. And if none of the basic condition is satisfied, the individual is regarded as a non-resident. And once he is a non-resident, the story is over. In non-resident, there is nothing called ordinarily resident, not ordinarily resident. This concept of ordinarily resident is only in case of where an individual is a resident. If he is a resident, there is further classification called ROR, RNOR. But if he is a non-resident, the story ends there. And if he will become a non-resident if none of the basic condition is satisfied. And let's reiterate once again, what are the basic conditions? Come on. The first basic condition, he must be in India for a period of 182 days or more during the previous year. Or he must be in India for a period of 60 days or more during the previous year. And 365 days or more during the 4 years preceding the relevant previous year. And in this context, let me tell you 1-2 interesting special points. First special point, there is a possibility of an individual coming, going, coming, going, coming, going, coming, going. Possible, friends? Exactly. No problem. You keep coming, you keep going. We don't have a problem at all. But one thing what they told in the law is that the day of coming as well as the day of going, is included for calculation of number of days in India. When I say it's included, that means what? Government is telling, let us say you went in the evening at 6 p.m. You are not there full day in India, but still we will treat as if that day you are in India only. Irrespective of the time, lawyers told that day of coming and the day of going is always included. And it is not necessary that the 182 days or 60 days should be continuous in India. It could be a case where person has come to India, stayed for 100 days, then left. Again came to India, stayed for 90 days, then left. No problem. The stay in India need not be continuous. And moreover, the stay in India need not be at same place also. Out of this 182 days, let us say 60 days is in Delhi, 70 days is in Punjab, 30 days is in Tamil Nadu, 50 days in Karnataka, 30 days in Kerala. No problem. Law is telling let him stay wherever he want. But if he is staying in India, we will consider that. And if he is going out of India, the day of going and the day of coming, both are included. So the basic conditions given under section 6 subsection 1 are he must be in India for a period of 182 days or more during the previous year, or he must be in India for a period of 60 days or more during the previous year and 365 days or more during the 4 years preceding the relevant previous year. With this discussion, I am sure that you guys have understood this point very clearly, that citizenship, having an Aadhaar card or having a kind of any other document, or being an Indian citizen, or generally we write nationality Indian, all this has got nothing to do with residential status for income tax purpose. For income tax purpose, taxability is purely based on residential status. And so far, I did not discuss with you about the concept of additional conditions, ordinarily resident. That we'll talk separately. First, let's become perfect with the basic conditions. Then only we'll talk about additional conditions. And the basic conditions are given by section 6, subsection 1. And how many are there? 2 are there. And if both are satisfied, he is regarded as a resident. Any one is satisfied, still regarded as resident. Both are not satisfied, the individual is regarded as non-resident. So the first basic condition is he must be in India for a period of 182 days or more during the previous year, or second point, he must be in India for a period of 60 days or more during the previous year and 365 days or more during the 4 years preceding the relevant previous year. So to understand this in the best fashion, my dear friends, let's take an interesting example so that complete clarity will come on this basic conditions. Friends, see that now. So let us say there is one person, Mr. X, okay, and we are trying to determine residential status for the assessment year. Okay, my dear friends, and now let us say during the previous year, he left India. He left what, my dear friends? India on, let us say, my dear friends, 10th August and returned on 10th Jan. And returned on what, my dear friends? 10th Jan. When did he return? 10th August he left and he returned on 10th of Jan. Next. Prior to the previous year, year 1, he was there for, let us say, 60 days. Year 2, let us say he was there for 100 days. Year 3, let us say he was there for 150 days. Year 4, let us say he was there only for 10 days. When I say year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, I am talking about 4 years prior to the previous year. Now, When I'm trying to find out residential status for the assessment year, what are the possible options, my dear friends? First point is very clearly talking about he must be in India for a period of what? 182 days or more during the, come on, repeat, during the previous year. Second possibility is what? He must be in India for a period of, come, what is the first one? He must be in India for a period of 182 days or more during the previous year. Second point, he must be in India for a period of 60 days or more during the previous year. And, what is that word? And 365 days or more during 4 years preceding the previous year. I wrote this point once again just to give you clarity that for the purpose of 365 days calculation, previous year is not considered. 4 years prior to the previous year is considered. So this example what I gave, my dear friends, let us understand previous year, how many days is in India? Come on guys, previous year, how many days is in India? He is there from 1st April to 10th August. Correct? 10th August he left India, but the day of coming, day of going, day of coming, day of leaving, both are included, and is also there from 10th Jan to 31st March. Friends, agreed? Because he left India on 10th of August, but he came back when 10th of Jan. When he came back on 10th of Jan, we will consider only till 31st March, because we have to look at only during previous year how many days he is in India. We are concerned only with the previous year. That's it. See now. 1st April means, tell me guys, come on. How do we calculate this? April, how many days? April is therefore 30 days. May is therefore 31 days. June is therefore 30 days. July is therefore again how many days? 31 days. And August is there only for 10 days. September, October, November, he is not there at all. December also is not there. But Jan, he came back. When did he come back in Jan? He has come back on 10th of January. That means in January 10th, it is included. And in Jan, how many days we have got in Jan? 31 days are there in Jan, out of which first 9 days only he is not there in India. That means he is there in India for 22 days. You got the working, my dear friends? Exactly, because you have to understand that he has returned on 10th of January. That means 10th January, he is in India only. Whatever time he returned, day of coming, day of going is always included. Next. February, how many days is there? 28 days. March, again 31 days. Total number of days in India during the previous year. Come on guys, I will use Excel here, but I want you to use the calculator very clearly and calculate, and always keep in mind day of coming, day of going is always included. So number of days that is coming in this question is 213 days. When it is 213 days, my dear friends, straight away residential status would be resident. Without any discussion, his residential status will become resident, because fundamentally the first basic condition itself is satisfied. That is nothing but 182 days or more during the previous year. I need not even check 60 and 365. What will I achieve by checking that? Even if he satisfies second also, still will become resident only, right? So there is no point of wasting your time in the exam also. If the first basic condition is satisfied and he became a resident, then don't waste your time on the second basic condition again. You're getting what I'm saying, my dear friends? Exactly. Because if both conditions are satisfied or any one basic condition is satisfied, still he will become a resident only. Come on, get back. So let us change some numbers in the question. Let's say during previous year, he left India on 10th May and he returned on 10th of Jan. So what will happen now? 10th May he left means May is there only for 10 days. June, July, August, he is not there at all. You're getting what I'm trying, my dear friends? Everybody, I'm sure you got a clarity in what I've done. I just changed your question where 10th August, I changed it to 10th of May. So that clarity of thought will come in terms of what we are trying to understand in this particular question, my dear friends. I just changed 10th August to 10th May. So that we'll get full clarity in terms of what is that we are trying to do in this question. So let us say 121 days. 121 days means what will happen now? First basic condition is not satisfied. Correct? Now let's look at the second basic condition. To look at the second basic condition, what is required? He must be in India for a period of 60 days or more during the previous year. Is that satisfied? Yes. Now, 4 years prior to previous year, how many days is there in year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4? 4 years prior to the previous year. How many days is there? 60, 100, 150 and 10. 60 days, 100 days, 150 days, 10 days. Total is how many days? 320 days. Oh my God. If it is 320 days, we did not achieve our number of days, my dear friends, because first basic condition requires what? 182 days or more. But how many days is there? Only for 121 days. So first condition is gone. What is second basic condition? Second basic condition is 60 days or more during the previous year, and it is the word is and means both. 60 days or more during the previous year and 365 days or more during the 4 years preceding the relevant previous year. So 4 years preceding the relevant previous year, how many days is there in India? Only for 320 days. So my answer will be, since Mr. X does not satisfy any of the basic condition, the residential status of Mr. X would be non-resident. This is how you have to present in the exam. And in examination, it is important that you have to write the conditions in the exam. Because in exam, you have to split your answer into 3 parts. Part number 1, what is the provision? Exactly what is 6.1 you write there. And in second paragraph, please write the interpretation, where we are writing like this: in the given case, Mr. X does not satisfy any of the basic condition. And third paragraph, we'll write conclusion, saying that since Mr. X does not satisfy any of the basic condition, the residential status of Mr. X for the assessment year would be non-resident. That is how you have to present in the examination, by splitting your answer into 3 paragraphs: provision, explanation, conclusion. When I say explanation, I am talking about interpretation. The actual provision, interpretation, and finally the conclusion. I am sure we got good clarity on this basic conditions given under section 6.1, my dear friends. So how many basic conditions are there? 2 basic conditions are there. If anyone satisfied, we will regard that individual as a resident. Both are satisfied, he is a resident. Nothing is satisfied, we will regard him as non-resident. And the 2 basic conditions are, he must be in India for a period of 182 days or more during the previous year, or he must be in India for a period of 60 days or more during the previous year and 365 days or more during the 4 years preceding the previous year. So for 365 days calculation, previous year is not considered, 4 years preceding the previous year is considered. So let's take another example to get complete clarity on this, my dear friends. Come on. Let us say there is one person, Mr. A, who is generally in Australia. He came to India for the first time on 10th November of the previous year. Come on, my dear friends. When did he come to India? He came to India for the first time on 10th November of the previous year. And the question they will ask, determine the residential status for the assessment year. Come on, friends. How do we determine? Come on, my dear friends. Previous year, how many days is in India? Let's look at that. Previous year, he came on which date? 10th November. And let us say he came on 10th November and left India on 10th November of assessment year. Come on, when did he leave? He left on 10th November of assessment year. Now tell me, guys, previous year, how many days is in India? When did he come to India? 10th November he came to India. But I will not see from 10th November to 10th November. I will see from 10th November to 31st of March. Because once 31st March is over, previous year is over. Because we have to see the number of days he is in India during the previous year. Just don't get carried away seeing from 10 November to 10 November. Don't try to tell 10 November of PY to 10 November of AY. He is a resident. Don't conclude like that, friends. Have some patience. Look at the question very clearly. Because the conditions is very clearly that he must be in India for a period of 182 days or more during the previous year. So everywhere, first we need to understand previous year, how many days is in India. And previous year will end by immediately following 31st March. So is there in India only from 10 November to 31st March. So November, how many days is there? 10 November he has come. And the day of coming, day of going is always included. So November, how many days is there, my dear friends? Come on. How many days are there in November generally? 30 days are there in November and he came on 10th. So 9 days is not in India. That means 21 days is in India. December 31. Jan again 31. Feb 28. March 31. I am taking it as 28 days only, not assuming leap year as such. And total duration of stay in India during the previous year. During what, my dear friends? Previous year. Ultimately, I am concerned about how many days they are there in India during the previous year only. Total is coming to 142 days. My straight away answer would be residential status for the assessment year would be non-resident. Without any discussion, I can directly conclude the answer, friends. Without any discussion, I can directly conclude the answer. I'll tell the reason why. Because how many basic conditions are there? 2 basic conditions. What is the first basic condition? He must be in India for a period of 182 days or more during the previous year. That is not satisfied because he is there only for 142 days. So first condition is gone. What is second condition? He must be in India for a period of 60 days or more. That is okay. But in second part is also there is second condition. He must be in India for a period of 60 days or more during the previous year and 365 days or more during the 4 years preceding the previous year. That 365 days point cannot be satisfied in this question. I will not calculate also. Because in question only I have an answer. In question they clearly told that he is generally in Australia. He is generally where? Australia. And he came to India for the first time. He came to India when, my dear friends? For the first time. Now tell me, when he has come to India for the first time on 10 November of previous year, prior to that he never came to India at all. When he never came to India at all, prior to that, how can he satisfy 365 condition? When 365 cannot be satisfied, second basic condition cannot be satisfied. Second basic condition cannot be satisfied. First basic condition is anyways gone because first basic how many days we want? 182 days or more. But how many days is there? Only for 142 days. Hence, the residential status of Mr. A in this particular question would be non-resident, since he cannot satisfy any of the basic conditions. So in the question sometimes they will tell like this, where he came to India for the first time. That means 365 he can't satisfy. Gone. There is the point. So in some questions, you will find some key points which you have to observe very, very clearly, my dear friends. So with these examples, I am sure we could get a great level of clarity of thought with respect to section 6.1, the basic conditions. We have understood what are the basic conditions given under section 6.1, where there are two basic conditions, and if any of the basic condition is satisfied, individual should be regarded as a resident. And if none of the basic condition is satisfied, individual should be regarded as non-resident. Now, my dear friends, let's look at some interesting exceptions to the basic condition. When I say exception is nothing but against the basic rule. In income tax law, you will find something like proviso, provided that, provided also that, provided further that. Something like, for example, let's say generally we say that Sunday is a holiday, provided that you do not have exams. That means what? Generally you can relax on Sunday, but when exams are coming close by, it is your fundamental duty that you cannot tell Sunday is a holiday. There is an exception to that. There is an exception to that. So in the same way, my dear friends, there are some exceptions given to the basic conditions also. There are three interesting special cases where we have got some detailed discussion to do, where we have got a special concept of basic conditions. What is that? Let's discuss. First, let's look at the first basic condition. Let's look at the first interesting exception, guys. That is, Indian citizen leaving India. It is not L-I-V-I-N-G, it is L-E-A-V-I-N-G. We are talking about somebody who is leaving India. Indian citizen leaving India during the previous year. He is leaving India during the previous year for the purpose of employment outside India. What is the point, my dear friends? Indian citizen leaving India during the previous year for the purpose of employment outside India. Let's interpret this point. What is the first word? Indian citizen. First of all, who is an Indian citizen? Generally we say that Indian citizen is that person who is born in India and holding a valid identity proof in India. You're getting my point, my dear friends? And one point, let me tell you from examination standpoint very clearly. For examination purpose, my dear friends, question will clearly tell whether he is a Indian citizen or not. If question is silent, then don't assume that the person is an Indian citizen. I repeat once again this point. Everybody listen to me. Unless question specifies, don't assume that individual is an Indian citizen. Question will specifically tell that individual is an Indian citizen. So what is the first exception? Indian citizen leaving India during the previous year for the purpose of employment outside India. He is leaving India, and that too when he is leaving India during previous year. That means during the previous year he must go out of India. It is not that he went long ago. It is not that he went long ago. He must go during the previous year. And that too for what purpose is going? Not for vacation, not for fun, not for a trip. He is leaving India for the purpose of employment outside India. It is not necessary that he must be unemployed in India. It is also possible that he is already having a job in India, but is going out of India for a better job. Or is not having job in India or going out of India for a job itself. So what is the first case is that Indian citizen leaving India for the purpose of employment outside India. And law has specified that in case of Indian citizen leaving India for the purpose of employment outside India, he will be regarded as resident. He will be regarded as resident only if the first basic condition is satisfied. That means he is regarded as a resident only if he is in India for a period of 182 days or more during the previous year. Strictly speaking, in the Income Tax Bare Act, if you look at what they told is that in second basic condition, what they told is that 60 days is replaced by 182 days. 60 days is replaced by 182 days. What does that mean? You have got two options. Option number one, 182 days about during the previous year, or option 2 became what? 182 days or more during the previous year and 365 days or more during the 4 years preceding the previous year. Now tell me guys, if 182 is done, then why do you want to look at 182 and 365? That is why in simple terms, I always tell to the students that you please keep in mind a simple point. Indian citizen leaving India during the previous year for the purpose of employment outside India, he is regarded as a resident only if he is in India for 182 days or more during the previous year. The story of 60 days and 365 days will not apply at all. So he will become a resident only if he is in India for 182 days or more during the previous year. This is the first interesting exception where 60 and 365 will not apply, only 182 concept will apply. Friends, we will see one example so that full clarity will come on this point, what exception we just discussed. Let us say there is one person, Mr. Akash, who is an Indian citizen. Indian citizen. And I clearly told you that question must tell you that he is an Indian citizen. If question is not telling, question is silent, then don't assume that he is an Indian citizen from examination perspective. So for exam purpose, unless question specifies, don't assume that individual is an Indian citizen. See now, Akash is Indian citizen who left India for employment purpose on, or let us say, I'll do a small extra point here, who left India for the first time for employment purpose on 10th November of the previous year. Or let us say, we'll do a small change. Let us say he left India on 10th August of the previous year. Now tell me guys, first of all, if you see the question very clearly, is he an Indian citizen? Yes. Did he leave India during the previous year? Yes. Did he leave India during the previous year for employment purpose? Yes. Now tell me guys, during the previous year, how many days he is in India? He is in India only from 1st April to 10th August. Because 10th August he left India. Now tell me guys, April how many days? April is there for only 30 days. April is there for only 30 days. And May he is there for 31 days. June he is there for 30 days. July again is there for 31 days. August is there for 10 days. Total duration of stay in India. Total duration of stay in India during the previous year. How many days guys? 132 days. Strictly speaking, this gentleman, Mr. Akash, can satisfy 60 and 365. I repeat again, this gentleman Akash can happily satisfy 60 and 365. Yes or no, my dear friends? Yes, of course he can satisfy. The reason being very clearly that 60 days is done because 132 days is there. 365 also can be done because he left India for the first time during previous year. That means before that he is always in India. 365 can be done, but still residential status of Mr. Akash for the assessment year would be non-resident since he is not in India for 182 days or more during the previous year. I'm sure you got a clarity on this question, my dear friends. Even though he is satisfying 60 and 365, still we will categorize him as non-resident only. The reason being very clear that 182 days condition is not satisfied. So the point what you have to keep in mind is that in general there are two basic conditions. But in case of three exception cases where first point we just completed, first point is Indian citizen leaving India during the previous year for the purpose of employment outside India. he will be regarded as resident only if his stay in India during the previous year is 182 days or more. And in this particular question, since Akash stay in India is not 182 days or more, Akash will be regarded as a non-resident. I am sure we got complete clarity on this point, my dear friends. A very interesting question so that you get clear-cut clarity of thoughts. Let's proceed next. Friends, we are done with discussion about the first interesting exception where only the first basic condition will apply. And what is the first point we discussed about? Indian citizen leaving India during the previous year for the purpose of employment outside India. So if a person is an Indian citizen who is leaving India during the previous year, and that too he is leaving for the purpose of employment outside India, in that particular case, my dear friends, he will be regarded as a resident only if he is in India for 182 days or more during the previous year. Ultimately, we have discussed a lot of interesting examples, and I am sure we got a clarity of thought on this concept, my dear friends. By the way, to recall once again, how many basic conditions are there? Two basic conditions are there. Come on, let's revise. The first basic condition is he must be in India for a period of 182 days or more during the previous year, or he must be in India for a period of 60 days or more during the previous year and 365 days or more during the 4 years preceding the relevant previous year. And these two basic conditions are given by section 6 subsection 1. And if an individual satisfies any one of the basic condition, he will be regarded as a resident. And if both the basic conditions are satisfied, still is regarded as a resident. And if none of the basic conditions are satisfied, individual shall be regarded as non-resident. Now looking at the exceptions, my dear friends, the first exception we are done with is Indian citizen leaving India during the previous year for the purpose of employment outside India. Now let's look at the second interesting exception in this point, my dear friends. When I say exception, which is against the basic rule, and the second interesting exception is Indian citizen leaving India during the previous year as a member of crew of an Indian ship, which is a foreign bound ship. I repeat again, my dear friends, Indian citizen leaving India, L-E-A-V-I-N-G, leaving India during the previous year as a member of a crew of an Indian ship. Crew means people who are working in that ship. He is leaving India during the previous year as a member of crew of an Indian ship which is foreign bound. When I say which is foreign bound means that ship is going from India to outside India. If the ship is rotating in India, there is no problem at all because he is always in India only. The question will all come into picture only when he is leaving from India to outside India and then coming back to India. So second exception point is Indian citizen leaving India during the previous year as a member of crew of an Indian ship which is foreign bound. So in case of this kind of an individual, my dear friends, he will be regarded as a resident only if he is in India for a period of 182 days or more during the previous year. That means for an Indian citizen leaving India during the previous year as a member of crew of an Indian ship which is foreign bound, for him there is no concept of 60 days and 365. He will become a resident only if he is in India for 182 days or more during the previous year. Now, let me discuss this special case of second point we have to understand in detail. Friends, we all know that what is the meaning of that word India? Already we discussed in section 225A, where India covers territory, territorial waters, seabed, subsoil underlying such water, continental shelf, exclusive economic zone and airspace above territory and territorial waters. All these points we discussed in definition of India. Correct, my dear friends? Yes. So now listen very clearly, sir. Sir, let us say one person, an individual who is working as a crew of an Indian ship. He got into the ship for the purpose of working as a crew member and the ship is going outside India. And we know very clearly that up to 12 nautical miles, it is regarded as territorial waters. That means up to 12 nautical miles. Till the time the ship does not cross 12 nautical miles, we say that the ship is in India. That means the person is in India. But here comes the practical challenge. How do we check when did 12 nautical miles cross? How do we exactly ascertain when is the time and day that 12 nautical miles of the territorial waters border has been crossed? So for this purpose, they brought an interesting concept in the law, where they told, my dear friends, people who are working in the ship as a crew member, they are given one certificate. In fact, certificate, it's not a certificate as such, but it's technically like a identity card, which is technically known as continuous discharge certificate. In short, we practically call it as CDC, continuous discharge certificate. It's something like an identity card which is given to the crew members of the ship at the time of joining the ship. So what they told in the law is that the date of joining till the date of signing off means leaving the ship. So the period from the date of joining till the date of signing off shall be excluded for calculation of number of days in India. This is one interesting kind of concept, my dear friends, where we don't try to generally find out how many days he is in India. Generally what we do, we'll try to find out how many days he is in India. But in this second exception case, my dear friends, we are trying to find out how many days he is not in India. So from a total period of 365 days, if you reduce how many days he is not in India, the balance period he is in India. Correct, my dear friends? Exactly. So from a total period of 365 days, we will reduce how many days he is not in India. The balance period what we get is nothing but how many days he is in India. You're getting my point, my dear friends? Exactly. And this special kind of working is only in this second exception, which is nothing but Indian citizen leaving India during the previous year as a member of crew of an Indian ship, which is foreign bound ship, which is nothing but going from India to outside India. And they clearly clarified in the law that the period between the date of joining till the date of signing off, nothing but leaving the ship, date of joining till the date of signing off shall be excluded for calculation of number of days in India. That means the moment, let us say one person, Mr. X, he is working as a crew member in the ship. The moment he got into the ship, we will treat as if he is not in India, even though ship has not crossed territorial waters. The fundamental reason they gave this kind of concept, because it is very difficult practically to track when the ship has exactly crossed territorial waters. So for that reason, they brought this interesting concept where they told the period from date of joining till the date of signing off shall be excluded for calculation of number of days in India. And this special concept will apply only to an Indian citizen who is leaving India during the previous year as a member of crew of an Indian ship. And friends, please do keep in mind very clearly that, which I already told you, my dear friends, unless question specifies, don't assume that an individual is an Indian citizen. Question will specifically tell that individual is an Indian citizen. So first exception what we learnt is Indian citizen leaving India during the previous year for the purpose of employment outside India. Second exception again, Indian citizen leaving India during the previous year as a member of crew of an Indian ship which is foreign bound. So in first exception, second exception, both cases the person is leaving India only. And first case it was a case of leaving outside India for employment. Second case is leaving India as a member of crew of an Indian ship which is foreign bound. And in first exception point and second exception point, in both the cases, the individual shall be regarded as resident only if he is in India for 182 days or more during the previous year. So now let's look at one very interesting example so that we get complete clarity of thought on this second exception, my dear friends. Friends, now let's look at one interesting question, my dear friends, so that we get clarity of thought on the second exception what we discussed. See that now. Mr. Anand is an Indian citizen. As I told you, my dear friends, this is how question will specifically tell that he is an Indian citizen. And unless question specifies, don't assume that an individual is an Indian citizen. So Anand is an Indian citizen and a member of crew of a Singapore bound, what ship, my dear friends? Indian ship. engaged in carriage of passengers in international traffic, departing from Chennai port. And when is the ship going? The ship is going on 6th June of the previous year. The ship is leaving India on 6th of June of the previous year. Next. From the following details for the previous year, determine the residential status of Mr. Anand for the assessment year. Assuming that his stay in India for the last 4 previous years is 400 days. First of all, my dear friends, if you look at the question very clearly, we have understood one point that he is an Indian citizen. He left India during the previous year. That too, he left India during previous year as a member of crew of an Indian ship which is foreign bound. In that case, my dear friends, we are not concerned with 60 days and 365 days, but we are only concerned with 182 days concept. That means this Indian citizen, Mr. Anand, who left India as a member of crew of a Singapore bound ship, he will be regarded as resident only if he is in India for a period of 182 days or more during the previous year. Now see the question very clearly what they gave. Assuming that he stayed in India in the last 4 previous years is 400 days. Come on, please see, my dear friends. Date entered into continuous discharge certificate. This is what I was talking about. Something like an identity card. Date entered into the continuous discharge certificate in respect of joining the ship. Come, when did he join the ship, my dear friends? He joined the ship on 6th of June. When did he join the ship? 6th of June. And below they gave date entered into continuous discharge certificate in respect of signing off of the ship. Signing off the ship. What is the date, my dear friends? 9th of December. What a brilliant point, my dear friends. So friends, if you observe very clearly, the date entered into continuous discharge certificate, that's nothing but an identity card document which is given at the time of joining and at the time of signing off. And when did he join the ship? He joined the ship on 6th of June and he has signed off on 9th of December. So friends, in this particular case, if you observe very clearly, Mr. Anand is an Indian citizen leaving India during the previous year as a member of crew of Singapore bound Indian ship. Accordingly, Mr. Anand shall be regarded as resident only if he is in India during the previous year for a period of 182 days or more. So Anand is regarded as resident. Anand is regarded as resident only if he is in India for a period of 182 days or more during the previous year, because Anand is an Indian citizen who left India as a member of crew of an Indian ship, and that too he left it during the previous year, and that too this Indian ship is a foreign bound ship. So for this point, my dear friends, date of joining till the date of joining till the date of signing off shall be excluded for calculation of date of joining till the date of what, my dear friends? Signing off shall be excluded for calculation of number of days in India. What is that line, my dear friends? Date of joining. Come, what is that line? Date of joining till the date of signing off. The date when he joined till the date when he signed off shall be excluded for calculation of number of days in India. So friends, in this context, my dear friends, since the date of joining till date of signing off is excluded for calculation of number of days in India, let's see when did he join and when did he sign off. Date of joining is equal to 6th of June. Date of joining is 6th of June. And the date of signing off is 9th of December. Come on, my dear friends, June. How many days in June totally? 6th he joined the ship. That means that day we will treat as if he is not in India. That means 25 days he is not in India. First 5 days only is in India, because in June we have got 30 days. July 31, August 31, September 30 days, October 31 days, November 30 days, and December 9 days. So number of days he is not in India is nothing but 187 days. Accordingly, the duration of stay in India is equal to 365 days minus 187 days. Come on, my dear friends, how much is 365 minus 187? 365, 187. Come on, friends, what is the difference? The difference is coming to 178 days, which is nothing but 178 days. Hence, the residential status of Mr. Anand shall be non-resident. I am sure we got a clarity on this point, my dear friends. This question is very comfortable and very interesting question. Generally, we always try to calculate how many days the individual is in India. But this kind of question where individual is an Indian citizen who is leaving India as a member of crew of an Indian ship which is foreign bound, we are trying to calculate how many days he is not in India. So from total 365 days, we are reducing how many days he is not in India. The balance days is nothing but he is in India. And that balance days, if it is 182 days or more, only then he is regarded as a resident. If not, he will be regarded as a non-resident. That's the story of this interesting example, my dear friends. We are done with two interesting exceptions, my dear friends. We have got one last exception and the third point to talk, and this point will take some sweet time because it's very, very important and we need to understand that point very, very clearly. So the first two exceptions what we discussed were, first point, Indian citizen leaving India during the previous year for the purpose of employment outside India. And the second point was Indian citizen leaving India during the previous year as a member of crew of an Indian ship which is foreign bound. Now comes the third point, which is very different, my dear friends. The third point talks about Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin, Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin who comes to India for a visit during previous year. So first point, second point was talking about leaving India, and first point was going for employment, second point was going as a crew of an Indian ship, and the third point is Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin who comes to India for a visit during previous year. What is that language, my dear friends? Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin. Now, who is a person of Indian origin? An individual is regarded as a person of Indian origin if he himself or any of his parents or any of his grandparents were born in undivided India. Undivided India means before 1947, prior to independence. If he or any of his parents or any of his grandparents were born in undivided India, then that person is regarded as a person of Indian origin. And grandparents cover both maternal as well as paternal. Maternal is nothing but mother side, paternal is nothing but father side. So the third point is talking about Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin who comes to India. He has not gone out of India, he has come to India for the purpose of visit during the previous year. He has not come to India permanently, my dear friends. He has come to India only for the purpose of visit, and that too he has come during the previous year. So the third point says Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin who comes to India for the purpose of visit during the previous year. This third category of person is also regarded as a resident if he is in India for a period of 182 days or more during the previous year. So if you are not in India for 182 days or more, then you are not regarded as a resident. So what is the third exception point, my dear friends? Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin who comes to India for a visit during the previous year. But in this, one very special point I will tell. Listen carefully, my dear friends. That is like this. Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin who comes to India for a visit during previous year. He is regarded as resident only if he is in India for how many days, my dear friends? Only if he is in India for 182 days or more during the previous year. But one special case what they gave is that if an individual is an Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin who has come to India for a visit during the previous year and his total income, and his what income? Total income other than income from foreign sources. When I say foreign source means income which is accrued as well as received both outside India. Income which is accrued as well as received both outside India. Total income other than income from foreign sources exceeds 15 lakhs, 15 lakhs. Then he is regarded as resident if he satisfies the second basic condition but with slight modification. That is, if he is in India for a period of 120 days or more during the previous year, 60 became 120 year. Simple change. 60 became 120. 120 days or more during the previous year and 365 days or more during the 4 years preceding the relevant previous year. So friends, the language given by the law is very simple, my dear friends. What they told in the law is that I'll divide that into two cases. Case number 1, Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin who comes to India for a visit during previous year. His total income does not exceed 15 lakhs other than foreign sources. Then he is regarded as a resident only if he is in India for a period of 182 days or more during the previous year. Other side, Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin who comes to India for a visit during previous year and his total income other than income from foreign sources is more than 15 lakhs. Then he is regarded as resident if two possibilities. Number 1, if he satisfies 182 days or more. Or second possibility, if he is in India for 120 days or more during the previous year and 365 days or more during the 4 years preceding the relevant previous year. You are getting my point, my dear friends? So what is the special case? What they told is that first basic point they told is Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin who comes to India for a visit during previous year. He is regarded as resident only if he satisfies 182 days condition. But we will not apply 182, we can apply 120 and 365 provided if your total income is more than 15 lakhs. And total income means total income other than foreign sources. Very interesting point. Let's take a brilliant example to understand this point in the right way, my dear friends. My dear friends, to put it in a nutshell, the third point what we discussed is very clearly Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin. Indian what, my dear friends? Origin who comes to India for a visit during the previous year. So basically this is the point. And this particular point says he is regarded as resident only if he is in India for 182 days or more during the previous year. That means what? He is regarded as a resident. This man is a resident only if he is in India for 182 days or more during the previous year, my dear friends. But second special point is what? This is very important. That's why I am writing all this now. Listen, Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin who comes to India for a visit during the previous year and his total income other than foreign sources. Total income other than foreign sources exceeds 15 lakhs. Come on, my dear friends, what is the language? total income other than foreign source exceeds how much, my dear friends? 15 lakhs. Then he is regarded as a resident even if he is in India for 120 days or more during the previous year and 365 days or more during 4 years preceding the previous year. So technically, my dear friends, if you observe carefully, what is happening in this concept is pretty simple, my dear friends. If there is an Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin who is coming to India for a visit during previous year, he is regarded as a resident if he satisfies 182 days or more condition, or if he is not satisfying 182, then we'll bring the story of 120 and 365. But we'll bring the story of 120 and 365 only if his total income other than foreign sources is more than 15 lakhs. So what if total income is not more than 15 lakhs? You might get that doubt, my dear students. If total income other than foreign source is not more than 15 lakhs, then this 120 days point will not come into picture. If 120 days point will not come into picture, then what is the meaning? Meaning is that he is regarded as a resident only if he is in India for 182 days or more. So if 182 is not satisfied, he is not regarded as a resident. He will be regarded as a resident only if 182 days condition is satisfied. See the next point, come on. Special point, listen very clearly, my dear friends. What is the meaning of this word called foreign sources? Foreign sources means income accrued and received outside India. Income accrued and received, where, my dear friends? Outside India. But does not include, number one, business income which is controlled wholly or partly from India. What is that language, my dear friends? Business income which is controlled wholly or partly from India. First point is business income which is controlled wholly or partly from India. Second point, profession income if setup is in India. When I say setup is in India, setup in India means setup basically refers to having an office in India, a fixed place of activity in India. For example, Shivateja has got a office in India. That means what? We say that Shivateja has got a setup in India. Now the point is very clear that foreign sources does not include business income which is controlled from India, or professional income where setup is in India. That means these two incomes are not considered in foreign sources. If these two are not considered in foreign sources for this purpose, that means these two will be considered for calculation of the 15 lakhs limit. Because in the law they clearly told that Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin who comes to India for a visit during previous year, he is regarded as a resident only if he satisfies 182 days or more condition. But 182 days story will not apply. 120 and 365 days story will come into picture if his total income is greater than 15 lakhs. But that total income means what? Total income other than foreign sources. And foreign sources means accrued and received outside India, but does not include business income controlled from India. Professional income if setup is in India. These two is not considered in foreign sources. When I say that these two is not considered in foreign sources, that means that these two are considered for calculation of that 15 lakhs limit. When they are not considered for foreign sources, they are considered for 15 lakhs limit. You are getting what I am trying to say, my dear friends? Very, very important point. Let's see one example now. Come on. So let us say there is one person, Mr. Rakesh, an Indian citizen residing in Australia. He comes to India 6th of November, 6th November of previous year. Prior to previous year, he is like this: year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. 130 days, 140 days, 100 days, 60 days. Total 430 days. That means 4 years preceding the previous year. He is there for 430 days. Now tell me guys, Rakesh is an Indian citizen. he comes to India. Let us say he has come to India on 6th November of previous year for the purpose of visit. So my dear friends, tell me now, is he an Indian citizen? Yes. Did he come to India during previous year for a visit? Yes. That means special point will apply. Now what is special point? Special point says he is a resident only if he is in India for 182 days or more during the previous year. But other than 182 days concept, we have got concept of 120 days and 365 days concept. But the concept of 120 days and 365 days will come into picture only if total income is greater than 15 lakhs. When I say total income other than foreign sources is more than 15 lakhs. So, assume is total income other than foreign sources is, let us say, 19 lakhs. Come on friends, how much is total income? I said total income other than foreign sources, what I wrote is 19 lakhs. Clear with the question, my dear friends? Exactly. Now tell me, my dear friends, during the previous year, he is in India from 6th November to 31st March. 6th November to what, my dear friends? 31st March. Tell me guys, that means what? November is there for how many days? November is there for 25 days. December is there for 31 days. Jan is there for 31 days. Feb is there for 28 days. And March again is there for 31 days. Total is coming to 146 days. Now assume for a second, in this question, let us say, I assume that total income other than foreign source is, let us say, my dear friends, 13 lakhs. Come on, how much I wrote? 13 lakhs. Total income other than foreign source is 13 lakhs. So what will happen is, residential status of Mr. Rakesh would be non-resident since he is not in India for 182 days or more. Since he is not in India for 182 days or more during the previous year. You are getting my point, my dear friends? Don't try to get confused, my dear friends. Don't tell that, sir, why you have not looked at 120 days condition. 120 days condition I will not look at because 120 days condition will come only if total income other than foreign source is more than 15 lakhs. But in the question I changed that figure to 13 lakhs. But let us say, if total income other than foreign sources exceeds 15 lakhs, then he would be regarded as resident since he is in India for 120 days or more during the previous year and 365 days or more during the 4 years preceding the previous year. So friends, I am sure we got very good clarity by seeing this question, guys, where you have understood that if there is an Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin, he has come to India for a visit during previous year. What will happen, my dear friends? What will happen? He is regarded as a resident only if he is in India for 182 days or more during the previous year. But instead of 182 days point, we will apply 120 and 3:5 point. But 120 and 3:5 point will come into picture only if his total income other than foreign sources is greater than 15 lakhs. And foreign sources means income accrued and received both outside India, but does not include business income controlled from India, profession income where setup is in India. Since these two are not considered in foreign sources, these two are considered for calculation of 15 lakhs limit. Very, very interesting question, friends. You are getting what I am saying, guys? Exactly. Now let's look at one more interesting example so that we'll get complete clarity of thought on this concept, guys. Let us say we have one person, Mr. A. An Australian citizen. He comes to India on 10th Jan of previous year. 10th Jan of what, my dear friends? Previous year. For the purpose of visit. Now, prior to previous year, my dear friends, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. Let us say 100 days, 50 days, 200 days. So, total stay in the last 4 years is 450 days. Clear, my dear friends? Everybody, sir? Now, let us say his total income other than foreign sources is 30 lakh. When I say 30 lakhs, that means what? Total income other than foreign source is greater than 15 lakhs. Now tell me, guys, what will be his residential status? Come on. Let's look at duration of stay in India during the previous year. What is the duration of stay in India during previous year? He is there in India from 10th Jan to 31st of March. So in January, he is there for 22 days. January is there for how many days, my dear friends? 22 days, because he came on 10th of January. So 10th Jan to 31st Jan. February, 28 days. March, 31 days. Total, he is there only and only for 81 days during the previous year. Tell me, guys, think very properly and tell me the answer according to you. What is the residential status, friends? Your brain will automatically tell, sir, the answer is non-resident because he is not in India for 182 days or more. Or some student might tell, sir, he is a non-resident because he is not in India for 120 days or more during previous year and 365 days or more during 4 years preceding the relevant previous year. But let me tell you one point. First basic fundamental point, what I always told you is that look at the question very clearly whether the person is an Indian citizen or not. In third point, what we have is Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin who comes to India for a visit during previous year. Now tell me very clearly, in the question, is he an Indian citizen? No. In the question, did they say that he is a person of Indian origin? No. I already told you that question must tell that he is an Indian citizen, or question must tell that he is a person of Indian origin. If not, we will not assume. Now when he is not an Indian citizen, when he is not a person of Indian origin, he is not covered under exception. When he is not covered under exception, you have got two basic conditions. Any of them can be satisfied. Wherein the first basic condition is 182 days or more during the previous year, or second basic condition is 60 days or more during the previous year and 365 days or more during 4 years preceding the relevant previous year. In this case, in the previous year is there only for 81 days. Still no problem. He is there for at least 60 days. And 4 years prior to previous year is there for 450 days. That means he is there at least for 365 days. That's it. Mr. A shall be regarded as resident since he satisfies second basic condition, that is, he is in India for a period of 60 days or more during the previous year and 365 days or more during 4 years preceding the previous year. So whenever you look at the question, my dear friends, please check whether very clearly whether it's Indian citizen or not. And I'm again and again telling you, my dear friends, unless question specifies, don't assume that individual is an Indian citizen. I'm sure we got a very good clarity on this interesting example what I gave you, my dear friends. My dear students, please understand that we are still in discussion about the basic conditions only. We have still not gone into the additional conditions. But don't worry, additional conditions will not take much time. Don't worry at all. So friends, to summarize the whole discussion, what we have done till now with respect to section 6, subsection 1 is, my dear friends, an individual is regarded as a resident only if any of the basic condition is satisfied. And the two basic conditions are, he must be in India for a period of 182 days or more during the previous year, or he must be in India for a period of 60 days or more during the previous year, and 365 days or more during the 4 years preceding the relevant previous year. Now in this context, my dear friends, we have got 2-3 interesting exceptions what we discussed. Exception number 1, Indian citizen leaving India during the previous year for the purpose of employment outside India. He is regarded as a resident only if he satisfies the condition of 182 days or more during the previous year. Second case is Indian citizen leaving India during the previous year as a member of crew of an Indian ship which is foreign bound. In this case also is regarded as a resident only if he is in India for 182 days or more during the previous year. And the third point is Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin who comes to India for a visit during previous year. This third case is special point where in this third case he is regarded as a resident only if he is staying in India for 182 days or more during the previous year. But instead of 182 days, we have got some special concept, but that special concept will come only if his total income other than foreign sources is greater than 15 lakhs. If yes, then the special case is that if he is in India for 120 days or more during the previous year and 365 days or more during the 4 years preceding the relevant previous year, still he is regarded as resident. That means instead of 60 became 120. That's it. You are getting my point, my dear friends. So this is the interesting concept of section 6 subsection 1, which deals with the basic conditions with respect to classification of residential status of an individual. Next interesting point, my dear students, that is, before we get into understanding additional conditions under section 6.6, let's first complete a small interesting concept, then we'll get into the additional conditions. And the small interesting concept which I want to discuss with you is about the concept of deemed resident. That means he is not a resident but still is deemed to be a resident, and this deemed resident concept is given by section 6 subsection 1a. Section 6 subsection 1a defines what is the concept of deemed resident, where they specify that an individual shall be regarded as a deemed resident if all the following 3 conditions are satisfied. They get 3 interesting conditions, and if all the 3 conditions are satisfied, individual is regarded as a deemed resident. Even though he is not a resident, still is regarded as a deemed resident. That means there is nothing called 182 days, 60 days, 365 days, 120 days, nothing. They just get 3 conditions. Satisfy these 3, we will still regard you as a deemed resident. That's why the word is deemed. Deemed means assumed. So what is the concept of deemed resident? Deemed resident is given by section 6 subsection 1a, where they specify that an individual shall be deemed to be resident if he satisfies all the following conditions. Number 1, individual should be an Indian citizen. Number 2, his total income other than income from foreign sources is greater than 15 lakhs. Same kind of language already we discussed some time back. And what is foreign source? Already we know. Foreign source is nothing but where it is accrued or arised outside India, but does not include what, my dear friends? Business income controlled from India and or profession income where profession is set up in India. So foreign income is which is accrued and arised outside India, but it does not cover which is deemed to occur arise in India. What is that word deemed to occur arise? We'll talk in detail later on. So friends, Coming back to deemed resident, individual is regarded as a deemed resident if the following conditions are satisfied. Condition number 1, he is an Indian citizen. Condition number 2, his total income other than income from foreign sources is greater than 15 lakhs. And the last condition is he is not liable to tax in any other country by reason of his domicile or residence or any other criteria of similar nature. Domicile means he is usually staying there in that foreign country. So for example, my dear friends, let's take a small situation. Let's say one person, Mr. A, he is basically from Mauritius, and Mauritius is a tax haven. When I say tax haven, that means there is no tax in Mauritius. And let's say that Mr. A is an Indian citizen. And assume for a second Mr. A's total income other than foreign sources is greater than 15 lakhs. And A did not come to India even for a single day. Still A is regarded as a deemed resident because it satisfies the 3 conditions. Condition number 1, he is an Indian citizen. Condition number 2, total income other than foreign sources is greater than 15 lakhs. Condition number 3, he is not liable to tax in any other country by reason of residence, domicile or any other criteria of similar nature. So for whatever reason it is, he is not liable to tax in another country. When I say liable to tax, that means in that country there is some tax. When he is not liable to tax means in that country there is no tax at all. Something like tax haven. So government is telling, if you are not liable to tax in another country, we will call you as a deemed resident. Provided you are an Indian citizen and provided your total income other than income from foreign sources is greater than 15 lakhs. So these are the 3 conditions to be satisfied in order to regard as a deemed resident. And the conditions are: individual must be an Indian citizen. Total income other than foreign sources greater than 15 lakhs. Condition number 3, he is not liable to tax in any other country by reason of his residence, domicile or any other criteria of similar nature. This concept is interesting, where a short question may come in the examination. Also friends, please do keep in mind that the story of deemed resident will come into picture only if the individual is not a resident by applying provisions of section 6.1. If by applying provision of 6.1 basic condition, he already became a resident, then need not apply the concept of deemed resident. So this deemed resident story will come into picture only if the individual is not a resident as per section 6.1. This point you have to keep in mind.